Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Morning. This is going to be a class of indefinite duration. I don't know how long I can teach, but I'll do it as long as I can so that we try to finish off Russo. Okay. Last time we were doing Romanticism, and while doing Romanticism, I basically was initially talking to you of painters who paint who painted landscapes, and there was and there was no human element in those paintings. Sorry. I then spoke to you about Turner, the British painter who painted contrasts, wherein he showed a verdant landscape and also black smoke emanating from industrial chimneys and spoiling the beauty of the landscape. This, I said, is a romantic school that glorifies past and laments the present. The present is their present, not our present. Oh. And what is the matter? Why are so many people coming today? And laments the present. Yeah, it's just a lamentation of what is lost. It would, its slogan is, let us go back to nature. This is a passive school of art. The aggressive school is represented by Gericault, the French painter, who basically tried to change the nature of the aesthetic, which had been created by the Enlightenment and the rationalist school. I gave you the example of Peter Paul Rubens, and I told you that Peter Paul Rubens is a typical Enlightenment painter. He's typical Enlightenment painter in the sense that he is somebody who paints everything in bright colors. He's showing complete harmony between nature and um, between nature and yeah, he harmony in nature, people living very, very harmoniously in nature. That is how Peter Paul Rubens painted. That is one example that I gave you. And everything is very nice. The sun is shining. The trees are green. There is a lake which is full of water. I used to show these paintings because I have these paintings with me. And but I think I don't know, they must be somewhere downstairs in that little room where I have stacked things away. Oh, and so I really can't show these paintings, otherwise you'll get a very good picture of what exactly is Romanticism and what exactly is the rationalist way of painting. And then I told you that as a precursor of the Romantic school, you have Rembrandt. Technically, Rembrandt doesn't fit in the Latin, so sorry, in the Romantic school, but I say he's a precursor because if you look at his painting called the winter landscape, you will see it is very bleak. It's all snow everywhere. There is nothing there except for dried up trees which have this snow collected on them. And he painted it as originally, he painted it as a miniature, just about this big. That's how big it was originally. But later on, he thought that, you know, a lot of things which he wanted people to see were probably being missed because of the size of the painting. So he painted a slightly bigger uh, picture, of the winter landscape. It's an exact duplication of the miniature, and it shows the bleakness. But he was against painting it as a bigger canvas, because for him the fear was that the brutality of winter and the helplessness of human beings was not uh, coming through in the winter landscape. Well, would not come through if you made it very big. If you made it very big, then he felt that it would look like any other painting. So first he painted a very, very small miniature, uh, which looks very dark, and but seeing that some things were missing the attention of the people, just made it slightly bigger, very slightly. Um, so Rembrandt is one of the inspirations for Gericault, and Gericault paints landscapes, very few, and he too painted autumn, when all the leaves are falling and the trees are no longer beautiful. So he painted autumn landscapes, and all the leaves on the ground dirty, grass uncut, growing long and tall at some places and not so tall at other places. There's no symmetry. The Renaissance and the rationalist civilizations, they show symmetry. Beauty is in symmetry. Now, that is the aesthetic that I then put an I here. So he was trying to change that aesthetic. And at one point he felt that was not enough. I told you Gericault painted dead bodies in morgues or mortuaries. And you see that he uses lighting to darken certain aspects of the dead body, and he uses basically a lamp, a wick lamp, and this wick lamp will essentially look at uh, one aspect. It'll focus, it'll throw light on one aspect which he wants to show. And the aspect that he wants to show is the ugliest part of the dead body. He even painted rats eating the dead. He even painted that. And the reason why he did all this is basically to prove that I think Gericault did this to prove that there is no beauty of the sort that was being portrayed by the artists of the Enlightenment and rationalist times. He wanted to prove this, that beauty that you're talking about is all in your mind. This is how it is. This is real life for you. Okay, so this is an expression of disgust with nature, not nature, sorry, disgust with the rationalists and like so everybody is his target, even Michelangelo is his target, and he believed that Michelangelo was somehow painting just those beautiful things like the Sistine Chapel and all, and showing things wonderfully when nothing like that actually existed. He also attacked the idea that man could conquer nature and subjugate it by painting different shipwrecks where the ships are broken into pieces by a storm in the sea. There are huge waves and people drowning in the sea, and also some of them holding on to the wooden pieces broken by the storms, by the storm, and their faces show desperate fear. This is another thing he did. He painted shipwrecks to show that you have no control over nature. What you think you have over control of nature is all in your mind. And it seems like that as long as you think that, as long as you think that I'm able to control in the absence of the fury of nature. Not only did he paint shipwrecks, he also painted villages and towns destroyed by big storms, and these showed completely destroyed buildings, trees uprooted, from the ground. Okay. People's possessions floating in water, and people themselves trying to save themselves from drowning. So these are the subjects he painted. And he also actually painted dwarfs. These days, one is not supposed to say dwarfs. Uh, it is um, um, it is a bad thing. You should call them little people. That is the politically right thing to do. Call people, I mean, these dwarfs, little people. There are paintings of his on the little people. So this is a contrast for him. They're just little people, that's all. He's painted them as they are. So in your mind, he's trying to tell you that what you thought was beautiful is actually not beautiful. What you thought of the sculptures and the paintings of people looking like Greek gods and Roman gods, which is, say, in this era, people looking like Hrithik Roshan. I don't know the newer ones. Please forgive me. I've lost complete touch with Telugu and Hindi films. So I don't even know who are the heroes now. Uh, but I remember there used to be Hrithik Roshan's pictures with his six-pack and also Shah Rukh, no, not Salman Khan. So these kind of hunks were, well, I don't know, the there must have been fat cripples like me. She must, I don't know why he didn't paint fat cripples, or maybe he did, I don't know. And but he definitely painted the little people to show that in nature there are anomalies. So it's not all beauty. It's not all beauty. There are anomalies in nature. And in fact, a German filmmaker, Werner Herzog, Werner, Werner Herzog, Herzog, similarly made black and white films deliberately with little people, only little people in them. Okay, and this is an experimental genre, and you will find that there isn't any particular story. There isn't anything there. It's just little people living their life. the difficulties they face when they go out of their house. So he shows them in their house, outside their house. But there is no theme, there is no story, except that he's trying to tell you that these people experience tremendous difficulties when they are out of the environment in which they are otherwise comfortable. You'll also sorry. Mm, mm. So these are all the things.
Sir?
Is somebody asking me a question?
Yes, sir, I want to.
Yeah.
So, what was the response of the rationalists towards all these movements by the Romanticists? During the period, did they respond or after the movement subsided?
No. The rationalists responded to the romantic movement while the movement was on. They actually responded to it while the movement was on, and their basic argument was that you cannot show some instances which are not very frequent in their occurrence. You can't show them and say that this is the reality. So that was one of the things that they said. You can't show this and say that this is one of the realities. And this is reality. This is just one aspect of reality which we don't face in our everyday life. We've been able to conquer nature mostly in our everyday life. So that was their typical response. And as far as the destruction of nature is concerned, one example is when Wordsworth wrote his poetry, which was a celebration of nature, which is actually a celebration of nature and a lamentation of the loss of that nature. You will find that an English essayist, Charles Lamb, okay, CHARLESLAMB, that is Alan Lamb. I was thinking that I might be giving you the name of a cricketer. That is Alan Lamb. So, yeah. So,
I am Bill.
huh?
I am well.
I am Bell. Ian Bell.
Yes, sir.
What about him? What about Ian Bell?
I was thinking that you are saying I am well.
No, I'm talking about Charles Lamb, but I thought there is a Lamb who's also a cricketer. That is Alan Lamb. Ian Bell, yeah. Uh, then, so Charles Lamb wrote an essay called The Londoner, one of the prominent essays. He wrote quite a few essays contradicting the Romanticists. But perhaps his most well-known essay is The Londoner, where instead of defending himself and the industrial civilization, the industrial way of life, he basically attacks the Romanticists. So how does he attack the Romanticists or Romantics? He says, I love London because of the black smoke that is spewing out of the chimneys. I like going out wearing a nice, fresh suit and my face completely clean. I like going out like that. And I like coming back with soot all over my clothes, all over my face, blackened a bit. So what? I just have to take a bath. And this I have to wash off. I love London like this. I love the society it fosters. I love the pubs where I can sit and talk politics, art, literature. I can talk all of those things in pubs that are there in London. I can make friends with strangers in these pubs. Please remember, the pub is nothing but a shortening of a public place. What it meant was actually at that time, it is a unique idea. It was a very unique idea. The only thing that came close to that in India was the Irani hotel, because a pub was a place where you could sit and you could have coffee, tea. Initially, they did not serve alcoholic beverages. They served only coffee and tea and biscuits I refuse to call them cookies. They used to serve biscuits of different varieties, so different bakery products were given. Nobody hurried you. Nobody came to your table and said, "What do you want? Eat and get out." That was not what it is. People sat for hours together. They sat there for hours together. They used to drink several mugs. They didn't drink coffee. Even now, the Europeans don't drink um, coffee in cups. I don't know if you have heard this, but the thing is, these cups that we have, they are referred to as teacups. They are referred to as teacups because only tea was served in these, depends, sometimes this big, sometimes this big. But those cups which came with the saucer, that was only for tea. Coffee, people had in mugs. So you keep seeing people having several mugs of coffee or several cups of tea and discussing politics. Mainly, it was politics. There's actually a wonderful essay on this, the bourgeois public sphere. There is an article on this that was written by my student, who's no longer my student. He was an Irani, and uh, he was very interested in working on this. So I encouraged him to write while he was doing his MA itself. He's a brilliant boy. He's now a grown-up man, I guess. It's been 10 years. So, and he went to Heidelberg, the University of Heidelberg. I only asked him to go to Heidelberg because he could afford it. And he wrote this article, which is there on Social Sciences in the research articles. I think it's called Habermas and the Public Sphere or something like that. So the pub was not just a public place, it was also a place where it was a public sphere. He called it bourgeois public sphere, Habermas. So that is something, that is the same word that was used, the same phrase, I'm sorry, was used by my student. He's now a lecturer at Heidelberg, so I shouldn't call him my student. I should call him my friend. And he wrote that very nice article. If you have the time and the inclination, please read it. He researched it quite well, and he actually wrote a wonderful piece. So the bourgeois public sphere or the public sphere was a place where people discussed a lot of things. And Charles Lamb says all this is possible only because of the fact that there are cities. Why are there cities? Why are there Londons? They are all there because of the fact that there is progress, and progress generates employment. People use the same theory that John Locke used. There may be greater difference between the rich and the poor, but the poor in the new civilization, in Lamb's case, it is the industrial civilization, which basically the industrial civilization that basically allowed for the flourishing of all these things. So it's a counterattack. It's a proper counterattack. No apology, no saying, no defensive argument. Go full blast and attack. Go full blast and attack. And at one place, in fact, in another essay, Lamb even questions, what kind of a human being are we looking at in this wonderful past? What kind of human being are we looking at? Are we looking at everything? Nature is beautiful. And is this man dressed up in a suit? Is this man dressed up smartly? Does he have a good residence? Says people lived in caves. People lived in caves. And he also says people didn't even have clothes. They wrapped themselves in some kind of leaves, or they wrapped themselves in animal skins. So what is so great about this? Why is this better than what we are today? Why is it better than what we are today? So this whole thing that you're talking of a glorified past, why are you talking about it at all? There is no reason why you should be talking about it at all. That is what he says. There's nothing glorious in the past. There's nothing glorious. At one place, he even says, those people had no morality. They fornicated with their siblings. That is the unevolved man. So why do you want to go back to that particular state? So there was counterattack by people like Lamb. There were others as well. There were others as well. Francis Thompson being another one. So you see, uh, he said people didn't have the safety of living in proper houses, protection from the elements of nature, protection from all kinds of things that human beings are otherwise vulnerable to. So he says, and then he asks one question: how do we go back? How do we go back? We have reached this stage. I want to say you want to go back to nature. How will you go back to nature? How will you go back to nature? What will you do? What is the strategy that you will adopt to undo civilization, as he calls it, undo civilization and go back to nature? So Charles Lamb was a pretty vitriolic critic of all things romanticist, but particularly poets and other literateurs who claimed or who lamented the lost glory of the past. So that's a very long answer to your question.
Yes, sir.
So there were people like Lamb and all who attacked the Romanticists, and the others were a little defensive. They said you're making mountains out of molehills. These things don't happen every day, the things that you claim that are there on the paintings and all. Anyway, so let's move to two things that I missed out. Oh. Uh, yeah, sculpture is another field where the aesthetic of the Enlightenment I told you, look at the sculptures of Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, or of those many, sorry, of those many different things that you find even today. Sorry, even today, if you go to Rome, Rome is full of sculptures, beautiful sculptures, mostly of the human body, mostly of the human body. And in the nude. The church was a very prudish, P-R-U-D-I-S-H. It's a prudish institution. And so, what did they do? They removed most of the statues of women. They removed them and put them somewhere in the bowels of the St. Peter's Cathedral. And when it came to the male form, they just chopped off the genitals because they were found to be immodest, and nobody should see something like that. So they got them chopped off. I had a doubt which nobody cleared. Why didn't they just cover them with something? Why did they have to take off the statues of women, chop off the genitals of the men? Why destroy a statue? But anyway, nobody gave me an answer, so I don't know. I guess it didn't occur to them that you can clothe statues. Anyway, so that was the Renaissance sculpture, the beauty of man, the beauty of the human form. All these were there. Then they painted, or rather, they sculpted majestic animals. Majestic animals, not necessarily carnivores, not necessarily powerful, only powerful herbivores. They painted bulls. You know, the bull that you see in front of the Bombay Sensex Stock Exchange building. There's a bull there. That is a typical Enlightenment art bull. That is because you have this idea that stocks are either bullish or they are bearish. Okay, so that is why you find the bull in front of the stock exchange. And it looks very powerful. It looks majestic. And in the Nilgiris, I saw the Indian gaur, probably from 200 meters in its natural environment. It is scary. It is absolutely scary. The humongous size and the way its muscles show. It's amazing. People say the Cape buffalo in Africa is a great thing, but you have this gaur, G-A-U-R, bull in India. You won't find them anywhere else. Such a majestic animal. Elephants are bigger. You shouldn't go too near them. But elephants, you don't see them as muscular, do you? They're more like me. They're fatsos. Only difference is they can run up to the speed of 40 kilometers per hour. I can't run at all. So elephants are magnificent creatures, but they don't have a musculature or something that generates awe in you. You say, wow. You don't do that when you look at an elephant. You don't say, wow. But you look at these gaurs, you're transfixed. You're transfixed. So they are amazing. So they painted not just these kind of things. Like I told you, the Bombay Sensex thing that is there is an imitation of a Renaissance bull. And you will also find that they painted antelope, animals which are very graceful. Then didn't paint, I'm sorry. They sculpted antelope. The antelope are the different kinds of deer. Okay, we have the spotted deer mainly in India, which is actually, we call it the cheetal. And we have the sambar, which is pretty big. It looks as big as a bull almost. Sambar, but it belongs, I don't know, a friend of mine at a million used to call it sambar. And I used to tell him, isn't it enough that you eat sambar? 4 times a day. They have to call sambar also as sambar. It's actually sambar. So the sambar and the Neel guy, they are big. The cheetal deer is small, the spotted. In Africa, you have the impala, very small, very graceful. They can outrun a cheetah. And the cheetah is the fastest land animal. The sambar, what am I saying? Impala is one. There are various kinds of antelope. Let's not get into the animal kingdom. So they painted all these graceful, and they were in motion. So this so what did the Romantic sculptors do? The Romantic sculptors okay, if these people, the rationalists, if they sculpted the human form in its beauty, these people started by sculpting ugly people. So who were these ugly? They were humpbacks. You know what a humpback is, right? Somebody who has a swollen back. It's like this, a hump. They're very ugly to look at, unfortunately. And people call them monstrosities, which is very bad because they didn't choose to be humpbacks. Then they would What else to do? J. Babeshan. J. Babeshan. Where have you gone, sir? You have gone. Otherwise, I would have removed him. Hydrocephalus is big head, disproportionate, huge head on a small body. That's a hydrocephalus. So people with that, okay, bent backs. No. Bent backs. Okay, that's enough for human examples. I might have missed out a couple, but they also started. Why did I put a but there? I don't know. They also started sculpting evil creatures. So, what are these evil creatures? They are gargoyles. They're missing out on something. Mm. Ugly animals. Ugly animals. So, etc. Do you know what gargoyles are? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Some
what?
evil-looking structures with wings, big teeth, eyes.
Yeah, you're right. Have you seen a gargoyle?
Yes,
Where?
internet.
Internet. Okay. If any of you ever travel by train to Shivaji city, which is what I call Mumbai. Everything there is Shivaji. They should have called it Shivaji Bhai instead of Mumbai, because their airport is Chhatrapati Shivaji Airport. Their railway station, which was called Victoria Terminus, is now Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus. Everything is Chhatrapati Shivaji. They should all call themselves Shivaji, I think. Anyway, so if you do travel by train, and if you walk out of CST, Chhatrapati Shivaji Terminus, which was otherwise called Victoria Terminus, it's a hideous building. You go out and look up. All you'll see is plenty of gargoyles. Plenty of gargoyles. You'll see demons. Okay. So it's a disgusting thing. I don't know. I think the British did that to insult the Indians. I seriously think that. Otherwise, does any sensible person put a gargoyle and sculpture together with architecture? It created why it created a, how does this happen? You idiot. Or they created monstrous castles. The art of the Enlightenment period was called, oh, please, What is happening here? It is called Baroque. Actually, it's Baroque architecture. I'll go into it another time. Sometime I'll do an extra class, and some of these things which they're very interesting, by the way. The study of art is one of the very, very exciting things. So, at least for me, I don't know about others. If I start explaining about Baroque, I'll forget my back pain and go on, which I don't want to do. So you have the period that is called Baroque. This was this was symmetry. Okay. The Baroque architecture was architecture and art was basically symmetry. Everything this was all symmetry. Oh man. So it was proportional along with symmetrical. Everything in the Baroque period. Romanticism, on the other hand, changed the aesthetic I'm not going to go very deep into Rococo. Also, Rococo style is also referred to by some as Gothic, but that is not appropriate since Rococo was much more multi-dimensional than Gothic was. But one can consider the Gothic to be a part of Rococo style. Rococo architect or Rococo art and architecture both show darkness. Castles were built in an asymmetrical fashion with gargoyles and demonic creatures on the walls. Inside, they were dark and dingy with no natural light coming in at all. One had to use a lamp. See what was inside. People blackened their eyes with coal and wore only black clothes. So I think that would be enough for Rococo and Baroque. So Romanticism is all this. It is all this and more, but I don't have time for more. I'm finished. I don't even think I can get up from this chair now. So we meet again tomorrow, and we will continue with Russo now. I have given you the Romantic period, and since Russo himself said art is a better representation of what things are. So he being a strong proponent of he being a strong proponent of the idea that art shows more than philosophy does. I thought I'll tell you about what came out of Romanticism. The Romantics didn't give two hoots to the defense or the offense of the rationalists. This became the dominant way of life in the 18th century, late 18th century, and early 19th century. So you will see that the Romantic period is cradled by two civilizations, by two enlightenments. One is the French Enlightenment, the other is the German Enlightenment. And just imagine a cradle with in between these two. So Romanticism is cradled by two very, very distinct and redoubtable enlightenments. So we'll talk about Rousseau and the French Enlightenment. We don't have to talk specifically about the French Enlightenment. We can, all this is a part of that, by the way, most of this. We can talk about Rousseau. So I'll do one thing. My original idea was to talk about Russo's Emile, given my love for that book and the way in which he advocates what right education should be. That was my intention, that we'll start with Emile and end with Confessions. But I think rather a better thing to do would be to do the social contract first. And like I said, if we have time, I really would like to teach Emile. If we have time. So first let's finish the syllabus. Then I would like to really, I don't know how many of you will be interested. I'd like to teach a bit of Baroque. I'd like to teach a bit of Rococo. I'd like to teach a bit of music that is there in the Romantic period. Nobody talks about it, but I did my research on it. So, but that's another story, which if you are interested, I'll tell you. Because this is a period which is really, really something that shows up so many developments. So, thank you. And
Sir,
yes,
don't
sir.
we have a seminar tomorrow?
Seminar. Is today the last working day?
In
Yes,
the
sir. Today is the last
circular,
day.
it is.
Okay. We'll see if there's seminar, then we'll do day after tomorrow. Please come back. I'll try and finish off in as few classes as possible. Okay, if I'm a bit improved, I'll take 2 classes and finish them off.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you then. Let's let me find out about seminars.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, sir.
Bye.